Check it. Check it. All right, here we go. Boom, baby. SportsBit 2.0. Betting Insight today. Pauly and Teddy, SBRpicks.com. We are live. That is the plan moving forward. It is the last day of April. Once we get to May, we'll be ready to go. Football season. It's already here. Win total's already out in Las Vegas. I know some other places released them offshore, and we'll get to team previews once we get further into May as well. NBA, NHL playoffs, big game breakdown, a lot to get to coming up. Derby later coming up this Saturday. So a busy month coming up here with SportsBit. I'm at Real SportsBit. He's at Teddy_Covers on Twitter. We'll get to the Sixers and Celtics. One game tonight in the association. Game one of that series. Surprise at the series price. Shot clock, we'll turn that on, and we'll get to the red-hot Yankees in Houston to take on the Astros. Bad beats, bad bets, bad for the books. How about this one? Oh, this was a doozy. Cavs open 6, 6.5, closed 5.5. The Oladipo 3 right between the eyes. You knew it was coming, Teddy. Cavs up 12 with 6 minutes. 3 missed free throws in the final 20 seconds. Oladipo from 3 with less than 1 second puts it on 4. Horrible result for the books, especially here in Vegas. MGM properties, ton of sharp money on the Pacers. 70% of the bets on the Pacers at William Hill. And at MGM properties, they took a ton of money on the Cavs to win the series price. So everything comes in with that.
Oh, this was probably the single worst result that the sportsbooks could have had. I don't think probably is the answer. This was the worst result that the sportsbooks could have had. Cavs win, but not covering in victory thanks to that Oladipo 3. Look at the quote from Johnny Avello over at the Win. Quote, it was probably a swing to $5 million in data. These 5 a week, 2-run home run to cover the run line in the bottom of the ninth, or an empty net goal in the last minute of an NHL game. Yep. But that's normal when it comes to the playoffs and the type of attention that these games get. Man, it's a big deal. And of course, when you talk about the volume of wagers on a game 7 in the NBA playoffs, it's going to dwarf a 2-run home run to cover a run line or an empty net goal in the last minute of an NHL game. Ed Salmons at ESPN, we needed the Cavs. The smart money was on the Pacers. I mean, it was all Indiana money. That Oladipo 3 made it a disastrous day for the sports books, both in Las Vegas and elsewhere.
That was a strange series, to say the least. The Cavs go 1-6 against the spread. They were outscored by 40 points in the series and win in 7. They're up big at the half, and then next thing you know, the Pacers have the lead in the third quarter. The supporting cast finally played well for that game with Cleveland. Thompson played well. Can't believe Lou put him in there. But I think he had 15 and 10, blown out in game 6, blown out in game 1, and now short turnaround, as it should be. You should get rewarded for taking out a team in a shorter series and doing your job. Short turnaround now for the Cavs. They take on Toronto on the road, and Toronto as high as a 240 series favorite tomorrow.
Sure, and deservedly so. When you think about the quotes from LeBron after that game, quote, I'm burnt right now. I'm not thinking about Toronto right now. I'm ready to go home. Can we? I'm tired. I want to go home. And of course, LeBron, who led the NBA, all players in minutes during the regular season at 36.9. You know, he exceeded that by quite a margin in the first round of the playoffs. He's gassed. And let's not forget, LeBron James has played 42 playoff series in his career. The one that just concluded was the first one that no teammate of his scored 20 points in any of the games. It was all LeBron. I don't blame him for being gassed. And frankly, I think the series price is appropriate, even though if I was betting it, I'd probably look at the Cleveland side. I'm not willing to lay with Toronto.
All right, yeah. The Raptors can't beat them this year. Christ, forget about it. I think we either pushed or lost because we had to give out a tough number on Friday because it moved. But in any event, bad landing spot and a tough beat. Warriors, Pelicans open 223.5. The total closed 225. It falls 224. Golden State scores 12 points in the final 8 minutes, and there was a 20 and a 19-point quarter by both teams in the second half, respectively. The pace was insane in this game.
I mean, insane is the right word. If you read the quotes after the game, Klay Thompson talking about, man, we're exhausted. They played fast.
Yeah.
When you see that type of quote You don't expect to see it in a game that stays under the total, but as you mentioned, at the end, the pace was there, the execution wasn't, certainly for the Golden State side. Unfortunately, if you had an over ticket, you didn't cash by a single point. That's a really tough beat.
Gave out more winners than losers with our draft prop special that we did, that once they released by William Hill, the handle destroyed what happened last year, as William Hill also doubled the amount of props they offered on the draft. But one loser, although you could have locked in a great profit and it didn't matter, but one loser we gave, how about this? Quarterbacks over 5.5 rounds 1 and 2. It opened 160 the over, closed $9, but it lost. Tough beat. There were 5 quarterbacks in the first round, 0 in the second round. Rudolph didn't go till the third. The Steelers take him. I was shocked by that, but tough beat if you had over 5.5, Teddy.
Oh, I mean, and you like bad beat on the NFL draft? You bet that's a bad beat in the NFL draft.
Sure.
If you got over 5.5 QBs anywhere near at the early money, minus 160, minus $2, minus 250, whatever it was, when it closes minus $9 and 5 QBs get drafted in the first round and you can't cash that ticket, yeah, that's a bad beat. And even in NFL draft props, you can still get hosed.
Yeah, amen, brother. Bad for the books. They were betting a lot of games under getaway day. Arizona under from 8 down to 7, 3-1 final. Colorado Marlins under 8 down to 7.5, 3-0. Pirates plus 150 down to 130. They win again. That's 5 in a row. They win 3-0, or excuse me, 5-0. Braves took money. They ran out the Phillies. The Yankees have won 9 in a row. They sweep the Angels plus $1.10, went off the favorite. And that's some of the baseball news and notes there, with some moves there that got there.
Sure. I mean, when you talk about Sunday's results for the books, you talked about the getaway day unders. Never in doubt. Pirates take heavy money as dogs. Never in doubt. Braves take money as a dog. Never in doubt. Yankees on fire, taking money. Books not reacting perhaps quickly enough. And of course, the Yankees big dogs again tonight. We'll preview that game a little bit later when it comes to big game breakdown.
Yeah. And also NBA. This was the mother of all bad spots. This is one of the worst spots I've seen in an NBA playoff game. The Rockets went from 9.5 to 11.5. They were up 27 in the second quarter. They get the money against the Jazz. The Jazz play, what, 8:45 local tip Friday night? They win the series, tough, grueling game, win a close one, then they lose Rubio, and then they have to play Sunday afternoon, Teddy?
Yeah, knock yourselves out, guys. And of course, on game day, this line got two-way action, but the early money was all on Houston. And of course, when it came to point spread drama, it was right there in the final minute till Brewer hit the 3 for the Rockets. That was kind of the clincher. Point spread wise, Houston wins by 14. Not a great result for sportsbooks in Nevada and offshore.
Yeah. 1 month in the books already with the baseball season. No good for the books. Players are crushing it. A lot of favorites. Also, they're betting on the good teams, and there's so many bad teams. 7 teams on pace to lose at least 97 games. So there's some awful teams. The Diamondbacks have become the first team in 111 years to win the first 9 series, as they take on the Dodgers now tonight, trying to make it 10. So 9-0 so far, winning all their series. And the Cubbies, the Brewers took money yesterday. One bad bet, $1.50 down to 130. Cubs win 2-0. Brewers did not score a run, an earned run, against the Cubs starters in the whole series. The Cubs become the first team since 1910 to shut out the same team 5 times in a month.
Sure, and remember, that was a 4-game series. It wasn't a 3-game spot. It was a 4-game spot. So when your starters don't give up an earned run over a 4-game span, nice pitching, but that Brewers lineup, we talked about it earlier last week. We're like, wow, these guys are about to break out. Not so much over the weekend. Rough series for Milwaukee, and that a good result for the books. The Brewers took money yesterday, both Dodgers and Cubs. We haven't seen a whole lot of wise guy support for those two teams in early betting action so far.
Diamondbacks are the real deal. Dodgers stink. We said that early in the season. I know it's a month in, but Jesus, they are scuffling. Here we go. Big game breakdown. Brought to you by Intertops and Bet Online. Intertops Sportsbook, 22 years online. Sign up, deposit, and win. Just 1 game tonight in the association. Here we go, round 2. Sixers on the road. Laying 3.5 and 207 the total. Celtics off the big Game 7 win at home against the Bucks. Sixers have been around hanging out with their feet up. Look at the series price I know the injuries, but it's the 3 against the 2, and the Celtics have home court. Phillies minus 450. And it gets worse for Boston. Jaylen Brown with that hammy, doubtful. He's saying all the right things about he wants to give it a go. He was the #1 player in the first round in net rating. He was great for Boston, but he's doubtful in this one. So the news gets worse for Boston.
Sure, and the price reflecting the news getting worse for Boston. And yet, let's not forget in round 1 against the Bucks, the Celtics consistently undervalued commodity. Here's Philly coming in fat and happy off a big series win. And here's the markets once again showing disrespect for Boston. Now, some of this is Jaylen Brown, no question. We averaged 17.9 in the first round against Milwaukee, and he's very, very questionable tonight. I would expect the number to bounce around before tip-off when his official status is announced. But when you start breaking down this, what do we do? The first thing we do is we take a look at the regular season meetings. And frankly, the regular season meetings, I chucked them out. They were all
Yep,
played before January 18th. Philly's a completely different team now than they were. Boston's a completely different team now than they were. And of course, you talk about the additions for Philadelphia since that time. 2 guys who impressed the hell out of me in the first round, Marco Bellinelli, Ersan Ilyasova. They combined for 27 points per game in the first round. Neither of those 2 veterans were on the team in early season. They were both trade deadline acquisitions. They've been huge for Philadelphia. They need to continue to be huge for Philly to win this series.
Well, let me tell you something. That last series was a coaching mismatch with Prunty against Stevens. And Milwaukee doesn't guard anybody, and they did a terrible job defending the 3 and guarding, period. And you saw with Bledsoe couldn't contain Rozier. Now you got Brett Brown, which, remember early in the season, they kept blowing big leads. That was a big problem. Well, no more. Because remember, they took out Miami in 5, never had the lead at halftime in the entire series, but ran them out in the second half of all the games. And out in the fourth quarter was the big story, too. Even game 2, the game they lost, they outscored Miami in the fourth quarter. So Stevens is terrific, probably the best in the NBA, but Brown's done an excellent job, too. Who's going to control and dictate tempo? In the playoffs, 76ers #1 in pace, Boston at the bottom, and in offensive efficiency in the playoffs, Celtics 10th, and Philly was 4th. And regular season, remember, the Celtics, even with the talent that they had in Kyrie, they were 18th in offensive efficiency. But they were the #1 defensive team during the regular season. When you get the big guy back in Embiid, will Boston be able to contain all these shooters that Philadelphia has and be able to stop Simmons from getting to the rim?
It's a big issue for the Celtics, no question. Again, you talked about it. This Boston team finished the regular season with the single best defensive rating in the NBA, the best defensive team in the league. 16 teams played in the first round, and Boston ranked 10th in defensive rating. So it's not exactly like the Celtics have carried that over into the postseason, and yet they were still covering numbers against the Bucks, and they still won the series despite those defensive issues. But when you look at the matchups here, I mean, there are some matchup problems for Boston. I don't really know how the Celtics are going to try to do this. 5 players averaged more than 16.5 points per game against the Heat. Redick, Saric, Belic, Covington, Ilyasova could all burn you off the bench. And in terms of the role players for Philly, and of course, how are the Celtics going to guard Simmons and Embiid? There's going to be switching, there's going to be design changes, but does Boston go big? Does Horford go on Simmons and Baines come in and put the muscle on Embiid, or do they keep Jaylen Brown in the lineup? Is he going to be good to go and then put Horford on Embiid? I mean, it's a real question how Boston is going to defend, and where does Marcus Smart fit into the whole process? So it's a concern here for Boston, whose defense has not been good in the well, I should say hasn't been good. Hasn't been as good as it was in the regular season. In the postseason, and of course, a Philly team that, what have they won? 20 of their last 21. They've been a point spread machine during this span. And there's a whole lot of confidence. Rest versus rust. Philly hasn't played since Tuesday.
Yep.
Sometimes that's not a great thing. That being said, the Sixers are look at them. They're road chalk in Boston for game 1, despite the fact, this quote from Ilyasova stood out to me, quote, "When we were in Miami, the gym was half empty. When you go to Boston, you'll feel it, even in the regular season. When you play that team, the arena is full, and they're really committed fans."
The problem, as we mentioned earlier, though, but right, the regular season, early on. Turnovers, fouls, and blowing big leads. They fixed that, although they had a lot of turnovers in that Miami series. But hey, what was it? Game 3, or game 4, they had 27 turnovers and still won the game. So they are the favorites at William Hill now to win the East, as their big series favorites in this second round matchup, which starts tonight. All right, MLB now. Yankees and the Astros, the red hot Yankees. It is Gray against Morton. Morton's been terrific. Houston, $1.50 at home, 8.5 the total. Yankees saying all the right things. They're coming together. The offense has been great. Don't look now. They're only 2 back of the Red Sox now after the Red Sox won 16-17. It's their longest winning streak since winning 10 in a row from June 8th to the 18th in 2012. But Teddy, some guys are made from New York for New York. Some guys can't handle New York, and Sonny Gray can't handle New York. His numbers have been awful since coming over in that trade. He's 1-1 with an ERA of almost 8 so far this year, and Morton's numbers are lights out. He's got an ERA of 1.86, but he got touched up a little bit his last time as well. Morton's been dynamite so far for the Astros.
Sure. I mean, this is a story for this ball game where your starting pitching matchup probably should have Houston favored by a little bit more than 150. The current form matchup, however, is in the other direction. The Astros playing solid. The Yankees playing great ball. That 9-game winning streak, they give up just 18 runs over the entire 9-game span. They give up only 3 runs once, more than 3 runs, once during that entire 9-game span. Look at the quote from Giancarlo Stanton, quote, "We can all click even more. So we're getting the timely hitting, the themes we need to win ball games. And if it stays hot like that, where it's a different guy every night contributing, then we'll be tough to beat." Their offense has been great too, but Sonny Gray, he hasn't been able to finish the 5th inning in any of them. The walks are a little bit out of control. He's not right. 11 walks to 7 strikeouts during that span. Look, he's pitched well in his career against the Astros. He pitched well against them in the regular season last year, and he pitched against them with the Yankees in the postseason. He got a win. He allowed 2 runs, 1 earned on 1 hit, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts in 5 innings last year in Game 4, a pressure-packed game in the ALCS. So Gray has a decent track record against this team, but the Sonny Gray we're seeing right now isn't the Sonny Gray that I'm excited to be betting on.
Yes, Astros, the bats came alive over the weekend. Finally, found that offensive rhythm. They're 9 games over now. They won 11-0 and 8-4. Remember, they had the struggles early. They were almost no hit by Bartolo Colon. Come on. And Verlander was like 340 in that game. Morton, 3-0 with a 1.86. As I mentioned, only went 4 innings his last start, April 24th. Walks were the issue. He had 5 walks and only had 2 strikeouts. But again, the stuff's been good. Had a great season, and I'm with you. This seems cheap. And especially you got the Yankees. It's a tough spot. Remember, they played the night game, the Sunday night game. Astros are sitting back at home relaxing. Now they got to travel again as they go from Los Angeles to Houston.
Yeah, and of course, Charlie Morton, from all indications, is as bet on as it gets right now. You know, he's been really good. And we're talking about a veteran pitcher who kind of reinvented himself a few years back. Always a disappointment. He spent like 10 years in Pittsburgh and disappointment year after year after year. He's figured it out. Now, I am worried that he got pulled early in his last start. And I am worried that his control wasn't where it should be in his last start. But the guy was literally pretty close to unhittable for 3 or 4 starts before that. And of course, as you mentioned, you know, he beat the Yankees with 5 shutout innings in Game 7 of the ALCS. As pressure-packed as it gets, Charlie Morton, a little bit more bet on than Sonny Gray right now. And as you mentioned, that Astros lineup, they're starting to click.
Yeah. We're live, SportsBet 2.0, Pauly and Teddy, SBRpicks.com. I'm at Real SportsBet. He's at Teddy_covers. It's time to turn on the shot clock. This is tough. Who wins a game first, the Jazz or Pelicans? Jesus, Rubio's out 10 days. I'm still going to go Utah because the Pelicans can't beat Golden State, and they know it. Golden State is 25-2, last 27 against the Pelicans, and they ran them out, what was it, a 24-2 run in the second quarter. And Gentry says we're not changing anything. We're still going to go up-tempo and play that pace. Well, Christ, now Curry's coming back tomorrow. So this could be a bloodbath. Remember, playoff Rondo, Holiday, who was terrific. These guys who were great against Portland. That's not going to happen against Golden State. Golden State, what was it, 33 assists on 44 makes in Game 1. Nothing? Speechless? Okay. Froze up. I'm going to go with Utah, though, on that one. Money time, play of the day. We'll go back to the Astros, betting number 920. We'll lay the $1.50. Morton against Gray. And Gray's been, disaster might be a little tough, a little harsh, but he's struggled since he came over and acquired by the Yankees in that trade. We'll take the Astros minus 150 with Morton at home. Look, rest of the week, we got Big Ten win totals, update with Michigan and Shea Patterson. We'll go over schedules there. We'll kick that around. More NBA playoffs, doubleheader tomorrow. Toronto and Cleveland gets underway. And NFL win totals as well. They're out. Westgate, CG Technology. I can't believe Arizona. Well, but we'll tease that for tomorrow. You won't believe Arizona Cardinals win total. You believe that?
I believe it because I was shocked by Arizona's win total last year, but my connection's back now. You want to do my shot clock here real quick because you're talking
Sorry, go ahead.
about
take it.
Utah beating Golden State. No. Actually, which team is going to lose a game? The Rockets are going to lose a game because they're the Rockets. Golden State is a defending champs. Golden State isn't going. They know how to close it out. They know how to do the things that you need to do in order not to have series extend. I worry about Houston in that regard. So, not going to be Jazz. Yeah.
That's what I said. Who wins the game first? We agree. Utah. Yeah, who wins the game first?
Yeah, I was froze up during that time. Bottom line is, we do not trust Houston to close out a series effectively without blowing a game. Not yet.
All right. Very good. We're back tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Tell your friends. We're back. SportsBet 2.0. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.